Hope that you are well and also hope that you are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 1 English lesson on personal pronouns. And before we start with our lesson on personal pronouns, we're going to log into aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 1. And once you've selected the subject of language arts grade 1, we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of personal pronouns. So our chapter is personal pronouns. Our subject is English language arts grade 1. And the lessons that we're going to be focusing on under the chapter of personal pronouns is to choose between subject and object pronouns, and to choose the correct personal pronoun. All right. So when it comes to a pronoun, then we have a subject pronoun and we also have an object pronoun. So we have a subject pronoun as well as an object pronoun. And the subject pronoun it tells you who is doing something. It's either a person or it's a thing, but who is doing something. So that is a subject pronoun. And then when it comes to the subject pronoun, right, which tells us who is doing something, you usually find it at the beginning of a sentence. And our common subject pronouns are words such as I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. Those are all subject pronouns. And if we look at an example, right, the one example says, I hug Rick. So who is doing something? I am doing something. I hug Rick. And then another subject, an example of a subject pronoun is they. They help Emma. So who helps Emma? They help Emma. So that is basically two examples of our subject pronouns. And we said subject pronouns, it tells us who is doing something. So it's either I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. Those are subject pronouns. Then we have object pronouns, right? And an object pronoun, it comes after an action verb. So you'll have your subject pronoun, which tell you who is doing something, and that comes at the beginning of the sentence, right? Then you usually have a verb, or that tells us the action that is taking place. And then an object pronoun, it comes after the action verb. And our object pronouns are words such as me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. So we said object pronouns are me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. And an object pronoun, like we said, it comes after an action verb. And if we look at an example, right, of object pronouns, then it is Rick hugs me. And as you can see here, we have our action verb, and me is our object pronoun. And as you can see, our object pronoun comes after our action verb. And then another example is Emma helps them. So Emma is a subject, helps is our action verb, and them is our object pronoun, which comes after our action verb, which is helps. So that is basically examples of subject pronouns. as well as object pronouns. And once again, we said subject pronouns, it tells us who is doing something. And a subject pronoun, it usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. And our subject pronouns are I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. And then we have object pronouns, which comes after an action verb. And the object pronouns are words like me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. And like we say, an object pronoun comes after the action verb. And yeah, basically even broke it down for you. We have our subject, our action verb, and then we have our object pronoun, which comes after our action verb. All right, so now a pronoun. So now the question is, what is a pronoun? So we mentioned we have subject pronouns and we have object pronouns, right? But what is a pronoun? And a pronoun, it is a word that takes the place of a noun or it takes the place of nouns. So a pronoun is a word that takes the place of a noun or it takes the place of nouns. So now when it comes to our pronouns, right? We can use he and we can use him if we refer to either a boy, which is one boy, or we refer to one man. For example, John is here. So John is a subject, it is a noun. But instead of, for example, saying John is here, we're going to use the pronoun and we replace that pronoun, for example, by saying he is here. Then we have another one, he sees you. And the word you comes after the action verb, which is sees. If you look at that, another example, it says, you see him. So instead of saying, for example, Jane sees him, right? And you're referring to Jane who sees him, you can remove the word Jane and then you put in you because you is a pronoun. Jane is just a noun. So you see him and him is an object pronoun which comes after the action verb. So we can then also use the word she and we use the word her to refer to either one girl or we refer to one woman. And examples of when we use she and we use her to refer to either a girl or woman. For example, we say Kate is here. right? But now Kate is just a noun. But if we replace the word Kate with, for example, she, so our pronoun is she sees you. And here we have our action verb. And after the action verb, we have our object pronoun, which is you. And another example is you see her. So which means that you and her are pronouns. You being a subject pronoun and her being an object pronoun. And then we also use it, right, to refer to either one thing. There is a rabbit here, right? Rabbit being the noun. So if we're referring to the rabbit being here, then we can say it sees you. So it being our subject pronoun. Sees being our action verb and you being our object pronoun. And then you see it. You being our subject pronoun and it being our object pronoun. And then we use we and we use us to refer to more than one person. And also with I or with me, right? And an example is it says John, which is just our noun, and I are here. So John and I are here. And now we're referring to John and I, right? So now we can say we, which is our subject pronoun, see you, which is our object pronoun. Remember, we said an object pronoun comes after an action verb, and we said a subject pronoun comes at the beginning of the sentence. And then you see us. And then we also use they and we use them to refer to more than one person or referring to more than one thing. And if we make examples, we say it's John and Kate are here. So John and Kate is basically just a noun. But the pronoun is when we say they see you. Because they being a subject pronoun and you being an object pronoun. And then we have you see them. right? So we see that when it comes to personal pronouns, right, we have a subject pronoun and we have an object pronoun. And the subject pronoun comes at the beginning of the sentence, and object pronoun comes after an action verb. All right. And we are doing our tutorial lesson. Oops. We are doing our tutorial lesson on A plus students.ca. Oopsie. Right? So we said once again we have subject pronouns, which refers to, which is telling us who is doing something, and we have object pronouns, which comes after an action verb. Subject pronouns, right? That comes at the beginning of a sentence, a word such as I, you, he, she, it, we, and they. And then the object pronoun, which comes after an action verb, are words such as me, you, him, her, it, us, and them. All right, so now let's go to a plus students.ca. And we're going to choose between subject and object pronouns. And the subject pronoun, we said it tells us who is doing something. And we said it usually is at the beginning of a sentence. All right. And we said an object pronoun, it comes after an action verb. All right, so now let's go to our test. So we're not going to be doing a test, right? Where we're choosing either between a subject pronoun or an object pronoun. So now we need to complete the sentence with a base object. Can you hear? Do we choose the word either I or do you choose the word me? So can you hear? And we can choose me. Like, can you hear me? Right? So we will choose me. So which means that me is an object pronoun which comes after the action verb. And now we need to complete the sentence with the base pronoun. My mother holds, do we say my mother holds him or my mother holds he? My mother holds he or my mother holds him? And we say the subject pronouns you find at the beginning of the sentence, but at the end or after an action verb, that is when you'll find the object pronoun. So now it says, my mother holds, does he hold or does she hold he or does she hold him? My mother holds he or my mother holds him? So we can say my mother holds him. So well done, guys. Him is correct because we have an action verb and him comes after the action verb, which is him. So my mother holds him. And that is correct. So well done, everybody. So we need to complete the sentence with the base pronoun. Do we say they heard a loud noise or do we say them heard a loud noise? So we need to complete the sentence with the base pronoun. So before we go, do we say it's they heard a loud noise or them heard a loud noise? So do we say they heard a loud noise or them heard a loud noise? And we can go with they heard a loud noise. And they is correct. So we need to complete it with the base pronoun. It says the children thank, do we say thank her or thank she? The children thank her or thank she? And we can say children thank her, right? And lastly, we need to complete the sentence with the base pronoun. Do we say us live in Texas or do we say we live in Texas? So do we say us live in Texas or do we say we live in Texas? So we can say we live in Texas. So well done. We is correct. Right? So once again, we said we have a subject pronouns and then we have an object pronoun. And a subject pronoun, it tells us who is doing something and it usually comes at the beginning of a sentence. And then we have an object pronoun, right? So we need to choose between subject and object pronoun as well as the correct personal pronoun, right? So once again, we have a subject pronoun and we have an object pronoun, and the subject pronoun comes at the beginning of the sentence, and an object pronoun comes after the action verb. Right? And once again, subject pronoun comes at the beginning of a sentence, object pronoun comes after an action verb. And we say subject pronouns tells us who is doing something, comes at the beginning of a sentence, and an object pronoun, it comes after an action verb. And then we're going to choose a personal pronoun, right? And we explained how we can use the word he and him and she and her, right? So if, for example, you just use the word he and him, then it refers to basically, it refers to one boy or it refers to one man. And once again, a pronoun, right? It is a word that takes the place of a noun or it even takes the place of nouns. And then we have the word she, and we use the word she and her if we're referring to either one girl or referring to one woman. She being our subject pronoun, which is at the beginning of the sentence, and her being an object pronoun, which we put after the action verb. And then it refers to one thing. And then we have we and us, which refers to more than one person, right? Right? All right, let's go to our test. And we're beginning our test. So the dogs are barking. So the dogs, right, are barking. Do we say he are so loud? It refers to more than one dog. Or do we say they are so loud? So the dogs are barking. Do we say he are so loud or do we say they are so loud? And this is referring to the dogs. Do we say he are so loud or they are so loud? We're referring to the dogs. Right? So we say the dogs are barking. They are so loud. So well done. They are correct or is correct. Dad and I went to the zoo. So Dad and we went to the zoo. So we say Dad and I went to the zoo. Do we say we took pictures of the animals, or do we say she took pictures of the animals? So we say we took a picture or she took a picture of the animals. So Dad and I went to the zoo. We took pictures of the animals. So we, and we is correct. And then Pat and I did not see Anne. So Pat and I did not see Anne. Then it says, she's surprised. Do we say she surprised us or do we say she surprised them? So Pat and I did not see Anne. So Pat and I did not see Anne. So then we say she surprised. Do we say she surprised us or she surprised them? So Pat and I, right, did not see Anne. Then we can say she surprised us because it refers to Pat and I, right? So she surprised us. Yes. And then we have, do you know Ella? Do we say, I met her in school or I met it in school? Do you know Ella? I met her in school or I met she in school? So, do you know Ella? And we can say, I met her in school. And her is correct. And mom walks to work on sunny days. And dad gives, do we say dad gives it a lift when it rains? Dad gives her a lift when it rains. And then we say mom walks to work on sunny day. And dad gives her, there's her, a ride when it rains. And the last one, which is like my mother and I ran up to the hill and dad watched us. So we can say my mother and I ran up the hill, dad watched us. All right, so that is the end of our lesson on personal pronouns. And we said personal pronouns. Pronouns takes the place of the noun or nouns. And then we have a subject pronoun and as well as an object pronoun. And the subject pronouns, right, we usually find at the beginning of the sentence. And the object pronoun, it comes after an action verb. So thank you very much, good ones, for joining our class. And I really hope you're going to have a good Monday further. Goodbye.